Hey YouTube, this video is all about how you can tidy up your neck hair in between visits to the barber and the mistakes that people make when they try and tidy up their own neck hair. I'm going to go over 3 of them right now. Please don't attempt to do your own neck hair until you've watched this. First of all, let's take a look at that unruly neck hair. It's a bit overgrown and it definitely needs tidying up. So tip number 1 before you start is get yourself a good mirror setup. It's going to be impossible for me to see what I'm doing with only one mirror, so what we really need is 2 mirrors, preferably one handheld and one big mirror. I've moved my chair as close as possible to the big mirror behind me, and I've got my little handheld mirror here so that I can see what's happening there in the big mirror, and I'm very close, so it's going to be easier for me to see when I'm cutting my neck hair. That's tip number 1, make sure you have the right mirror set up and you can see what you're doing. Important rule number 2 is make sure that you don't cut any higher than your hair's natural hairline. You need to be able to distinguish where the natural hairline is and isn't, and it's quite easy. There'll be a density of hair along a certain line, and then you'll see very sparse neck hair as shown. So it's super important that you don't take any more than just the fluff off. Remember, this is in between visits to the barber shop, and the barber will take care of the neckline or taper or whatever you have done themselves. If you go in beyond that line at the back of your neck, you run the risk of making the back of your head look like it's had an operation. Something that looks a little bit like this. Not good. When you start trimming the neck hair, remember that slow and steady wins the day. It's the old tortoise and hare story, so nice and slow. If you go too quickly, you might approach the neckline far too fast, and next thing you know, you've taken too much hair away. So have a look at the way that I'm holding the clipper here, and you can see that I actually have it upside down in my hand, so the bottom of the blade is pushing towards the neckline. I've done that because it's more visible. If you have good visibility, that's going to help you find a better stopping point as you approach the hairline. Something I'd strongly recommend against, and I'd say this for amateurs and professionals, is bashing yourself in the face with a mirror. That can hurt, so try not to do that. You might find that when you're doing this that one side is easier to cut than the other. That's just depending on whether you're left or right-handed and how flexible you are. Once you've worked around the neck hair, we need to get to tip number 3, and this is actually quite important. If you trim the neck hair just below the hairline and you only take some of it away and you think that that's tidy, but there's hair sticking up above your t-shirt line, then that hair can look quite messy. Tip number 3 is to push your t-shirt line down as far as it'll go and trim all of the hair down to the t-shirt line. That's going to mean that you won't have hair sprouting up around the t-shirt line. That can look untidy. If you're wearing a shirt for work, then that's going to be your line. You need to make sure that there's no hair sprouting up over the shirt. It's just going to look untidy. So I'm working with the bottom of the clipper blade working down the way. I find that an easier position to be in. If you haven't been keeping up to date with your yoga exercises, you might find this position easier. I must emphasize this, that when you trim your own neck hair, that you take your time, don't rush it. You're working almost in reverse because you're looking through 2 mirrors and you're trying to cut something that is the back of your own head. So take your time. It's not a race. All you want to do is just neaten up that hair that's on the skin that's not part of your head hair. When it comes to the rest of the hair and where you join it in, don't worry too much. I would leave that to your barber, or you can have a look at one of my other videos on how to cut the sides. But if it's just the neck hair and you're in between haircuts, this is a pretty good guide to trimming your neck hair. That's been my quick guide to trimming neck hair and mistakes to avoid. Don't forget to hit subscribe if you want more tips on how to cut your own hair, or you want to learn more about barbering in general. It's all going to be on this channel. Thanks for watching.